to help us figure out how to make sure the hackers don't get to us. Adam Levine, founder of IDT 911, Identity Theft 911, co-founder of Credit.com, and author of Swiped. Mr. Levine, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fine, except for I'm going to have a horrible conversation with my children later today when I tell them that I interviewed Adam Levine, and they find out that it's not the guy from Maroon 5.
Well, actually, here's the best part: is my name. My name is actually Levin.
Levin. See, I can't even. I got your name wrong.
But you can go with Levine.
I'll go with Levine. I'm telling the kids. See, I was supposed to interview somebody from like one of their favorite TV shows the other day, and then they weren't able to. So they're excited I've been on the radio filling in this week, but I keep blowing it with the guests. I'm gonna pretend that your name is Levine when I talk to my kids later.
No, it works. It works at restaurants. I'm telling you.
You got to work it. So we were talking earlier about Roger Goodell and the NFL getting their Twitter hacked, and I'm active on Twitter and Facebook, and like a lot of people, constantly changing passwords. What do we need to know today about what the hackers are trying to do to get to us, whether it's our financial information or our social media or our work email, whatever it is?
Well, hackers prey on one thing, the fact that we have day jobs, because to them we are their day job. So they figure we're distracted, that whatever we do, we're going to try to come up with some kind of shorthand in order to simplify the process, whether it means we save user ID and passwords, which is a big mistake on websites or on apps, or we come up with easily decipherable passwords that we share across our entire universe of websites. And then, of course, once you get breached in one, you're going to be compromised every place else. So you have to get more clever, not only with your passwords, but also with your security questions and the answers to security questions. You have to lie. And you have to be really creative, because make no mistake, the guys you're up against are sophisticated, creative, and very, very persistent.
So from a practical standpoint, let's say I follow your advice, because frankly, I'm the person you just described, and I decide, instead of having the same password for Twitter and Facebook, and instead of having the same password for a couple of my bank accounts and that sort of thing, I'm going to have a different one for everything, and I'm going to lie about my first car being a 1979 Ford Pinto and come up with something else. How do I remember all this stuff so that I don't get locked out of my own information?
Yeah, well, the first thing is, if you're going to lie on security questions, don't be so creative you can't remember. Or what you can do is load a list of your not true answers to security questions onto an encrypted thumb drive. Then you only have to remember the password to the thumb drive and where you put it. For passwords, you could, of course, come up with a system. Some people like to use a phrase or the first letter of each word of the phrase, and maybe they capitalize the first two and they lowercase the next two, and instead of an L, they use an exclamation point, and then they put a couple letters in front of it to remind them of the website, and a couple numbers behind it. All complicated. So the other alternative is password management systems. They have them. Some of them, many of them actually, are very good, and they remember your passwords for you. And once you make a certain change, they'll change it throughout the universe, depending. Let's say that you have a certain couple numbers that you use throughout your universe. You can change it, and your password manager automatically changes it for everything. They're very flexible, and you need to be flexible and nimble.
Does that work with both social media and financial stuff?
Oh, sure.
Like a password manager?
Yeah.
How does that?
Passwords.
Do you just enter in all the different things that you're using, and?
It's generally the first time you use it, and then it will, every time you go onto a particular site, it will either pop up the site, or it will simply give you a list. So when you go to your history or whatever, you click on it, and a list of your sites come down, and you click on the one you want to go to.
And is that something that's compatible with information at work as well, or are you stuck dealing with, you're going to have to do something separate at work because all the corporations have their own separate rules and that sort of thing?
I think you got to do something separate at work. This is the one where never the twain shall meet, because you can't afford to possibly jeopardize your system at work if something goes wrong in your personal system.
Okay.
So, but every business is developing, I hope, listen up, St. Louis. I hope, and in fact, I spoke at a cyber conference about a couple months ago in St. Louis at St. Louis University, and there were a lot of businesses there. They were very attentive. The government was there, and everybody was talking about how we really need to develop serious protocols for businesses, that businesses can protect themselves. And with a business, you not only need a separate password for each department, you need a separate password for every person in that department, and they can never share passwords between different departments because you really run into a problem.
We have a system in our corporation, and we're constantly having to change and all of that. Are the hackers out there? Are they more interested in my individual stuff, or is there a value for them in breaking into corporations? Where are they spending their time?
Well, for them, they'd rather break into the corporation because they have that delicious smorgasbord of intellectual property, trade secrets, information that would be, for instance, for W-2 forms, ways that they could create fraudulent wire transfers to move money out of companies. I mean, one company was on the hook for over $100 million because of a mistake that was made. Somebody believed they got an email from the CEO. Another one, $46 million. We've had a lot of companies breach because people in the HR department received an email they thought was from the CEO asking for backup information for the W-2 forms for employees.
Wow.
And they sent it, and they exposed hundreds, if not thousands of people. No, corporations are, they are the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for any hacker. Why go after one guy when you can go after an entire corporation as well as all of their customers, all of their clients, their employees, their partners? I mean, it's a pretty ugly situation.
Well, thank you very much for scaring the heck out of me for the rest of the day. Adam Levin, founder of IDT 911, co-founder of Credit.com, author of Swipe. Thanks for joining us today on the Big 550 KTRS.